St. Louis is famous for introducing the world to gooey butter cake. Now, Bluebell brings to St. Louis and the rest of us gooey butter cake ice cream. A rich combination of cake batter ice cream, a luscious cream cheese swirl, and gooey butter cake pieces. Your taste buds will agree. It's the gateway to the best. Available in pints and half gallons. Look for Bluebell ice cream at your favorite grocer. If you can't find it, ask for it.
Rack your look for spring at Nordstrom Rack and save up to 60% on brands you love. Rag & Bone, Vince, Marc Jacobs, Adidas, Joe's, and more. Great brands, great prices every day at Nordstrom Rack. Score new dresses, denim, sandals, designer bags, and sunglasses, plus updates for the family and home. Get your spring on for less, up to 60% less, today at your Nordstrom Rack store. What will you find?
When people think of today's North Carolina MC, they probably think of popular artists like J. Cole, DaBaby, Rhapsody, and then they also think of Wale, Drake, Kendrick, Kanye, just to kind of name a few in terms of what people have been influenced by, what this group is that I'm about to introduce has, who they've influenced. And I would totally agree with that. I think Little Brother has influenced so many people, and the sound, and is North Carolina. And with that, I want to welcome them to Live with Tim Einenkel.
Man, thank you for having us. Thank you.
As I said, you guys came out of North Carolina, but these artists came after you. So who were you listening to? What was the North Carolina scene when you guys were there?
At the time, of the two of us, I'm actually, born and raised in North Carolina. Pooh, was born and raised in Virginia. And, for me, North Carolina was always like a melting pot of sounds. So where I grew up in Greensboro, North Carolina, it was a college town. So what you had was like this influx of a lot of out-of-towners, a lot of people coming from up north, coming down and going to school. You also had drug culture. You know what I mean? You also had, the drug dealers that was coming from up north and kind of making their way down, working their way to Atlanta, you know what I'm saying? So you had all these Northerners bringing their influence and their sound with them. And, then you also had the D.C. people that was coming and bringing go-go, you know what I mean? So for me, it was just always just this incredible melting pot of just a lot of different sounds and personalities. And I didn't understand at that time that was new, or that was something that was rather unusual. To me, it was just home. It was just Greensboro. So when we came out and people were like, oh, they don't sound like they from the South, I was just like, well, shit, we from my South. You know what I mean? That was my experience. So at that time, yeah, you had MCs coming up. You had, the Busy Boys. They were a local crew that included Ski, who is now, Ski Beats, who went on to produce Rockefeller, and, Jay-Z, Camp Low, the whole, Uptown Saturday Night album. You had, oh my God, man, you had Entice, who later went on, she ended up running with like Deadly Venom. They was like this girl crew that was like a Wu-Tang affiliate crew. You had Yak-Fu Front. It was like one of the first artists I remember that signed to a major. They signed to Mercury in like 94, and Diamond D like produced, their record, you know what I mean? So that was like big, you know what I mean? But yeah, you just had all these like local crews, and, they each showed me what making it look like. It was like, man, if they made it out of here, like, wow, you know what I mean? It showed me that there is a line from here to there. Mm-hmm. And so that was kind of stuff that I came up on.
For me, just growing up in Northern Virginia, like, we gravitated more towards what was happening in New York. So I grew up and I had a friend that was from New York, and like most New Yorkers, when they move somewhere, they bring New York with them. Yeah. So that's how I got into Wu-Tang. I got into Biggie. I got into Nas, like Mobb Deep. It was him bringing music down. And I got to give a special shout out to BMG and how you used to get like 10 CDs for like 6 cents.
Yeah, I remember those days.
My brother figured out how to rig addresses. The system. Same address.
Oh, different names.
Different names. And we would just get so many, like he got I say we because I ended up stealing some of them CDs, but he would just get so many different CDs, and he'd see a cover or a name and it interests him, and he'd get it. And like it was that, and then it was go-go music. Like that's what I grew up on, was go-go music. And so when I went down to North Carolina to go to school, to go to college, I was 18 years old, and just to see that atmosphere was similar to what I already experienced in Virginia. I mean, you had the influx of, more what people would call like traditional Southern music, but for the most part, it was a melting pot, just like it was where I grew up at. So, I felt right at home.
The new album, May the Lord Watch, is, I think, an incredible album, and it definitely reminds
Thank you so much, man.
Reminds you of all the albums before. And the crazy thing to me is that Ninth Wonder isn't on this, but you guys, got a bunch of producers together to recreate the Little Brother sound. And always the thing I've appreciated about your work is that each album, if I were to skip a track, I would feel like I missed something.
Oh, wow.
So I would never want to
you.
skip a track. And same for this album.
Thank you.
How did you guys do that? Like, how did you kind of create the same sound with totally different producers on this?
Well, I tell people all the time that, and this is no disrespect to what we did together with Ninth, the Listening to Minstrel Show, but the Little Brother sound is Phonte and I. Like, you can take those same beats and, put
two other MCs
on it, and it wouldn't be the same thing. Mm-hmm. So for us, it was just figuring out where we wanted to go and making it all make sense, soundscape wise. But the Little Brother sound was going to always be there because we were there. And like I said, it was just us figuring out, we had to sit down and refigure each other out. Man, and then, which was its own process. And then as we got reacquainted with each other and how we both create at this point in our careers, we were able to take all of that and figure exactly what we were looking for sound wise, because we couldn't describe it.
Yeah. Right? It's art. I mean, it's subjective, and it's just one of those things where, it when you hear it. And, I think the past couple of years, since I've been away, since me and Pooh weren't doing Little Brother, I spent a lot of time doing, work for TV and doing voiceover work and things like that. And, I had, one of my homies in the voiceover game, he's always told me, he's like, man, if you don't get a gig, you can't take it personal. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that, you're a shitty voice actor or whatever. It's just, maybe the producer was looking for something else. And that really just changed my outlook on my approach for art. And it really helped me to not take any of it personal. It's just like, listen, if it doesn't work, it just doesn't work. There's no need to, beat yourself up about it. Let's just find the thing that works. And so when we were crafting the album and just looking for beats and working with the producers that, we had worked with before and some producers we had never worked with before, once you identify that thing, you got it. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, it's getting to finding the thing is the hard part. But once you find it and once the producer sees it's like, that's what you're looking for, then it becomes easier to kind of replicate and to flesh out over the course of an album.
When you guys came back together to kind of, refigure things out, right? Do you remember the first track maybe that was written for this that kind of said, all right, this makes sense. This makes sense that we got back together? I
think the first track that we wrote together was Everything. That was the very first track.
That track is dope.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was the very first time that we sat down and wrote together in 9 years. Yeah. And so we did that one, and then right after that one, the next one was The Feel, and that just kind of was like, all right. Okay, we got that one. And then after that one,
I think the one where I was like, yo, we back.
Good Morning Sunshine.
Oh, nice.
That was the one we was like, okay, this is LB. Like, we got it. And so, so that was a little bit of a learning curve there, just kind of figuring each other out again. But Good Morning Sunshine, yeah, like Pooh said, that was the one we like, okay, we full speed ahead now.
I want to ask you about everything. It's of course, a very smooth, mellow track, but the best thing, I think, a great thing about it is that it samples MOP's Ante Up, which is not a smooth. It's like I want to beat the shit out of anyone track, right? So how did that happen? What is the MOP Ante Up? What does that do for that track?
Man, it's a juxtaposition. You know what I mean? It's Crisis, who produced that track. You know, he sent it to me and sent it to us, and me and Pooh were just sitting over listening, and I was like, yo, I think this is it. I think it can go. And so we laid our vocals down over it, and I was like, yo, man, it just needs something just to give it some energy. I'm a big fan of, which is something that I think it's kind of hard to do now because of sample clearances, but, I'm just a big fan of referencing other classic hip hop records and my stuff, just doing those little callbacks and those things that, the average listener may miss it, but a hip hop fan is going to be like, oh shit, you know what I'm saying? Just those kind of fan service kind of things. And so with the MOP, that was something that me and Pooh used to do on stage already. You know what I mean? Okay. And so we would do it live, and I was like, yo, what if I just threw that in there? You know what I mean? And so I hit, my DJ Flash, and we threw it in, and yeah, man, it was just something just to give it that dimension, and also a nod just to to Billy and Fame. You know what I mean? We toured with them in
the Splash Festival.
In Germany.
Yeah.
This is like back in 2009.
Don't get me lying about it.
Yeah, it was a minute ago.
Splash
8,
Festival in Germany when Jay-Z headlined and Shaggy went on before him. That's all I know.
Google it.
Shaggy.
Ice Cube was one night.
And Ice Cube bodied that shit.
That's when we actually got to really connect with MOP. Like, they cleared the stage, and MOP was like, oh, we going up there, like, y'all with us, come on. And it was just us and MOP. I got to meet Ice Cube, which is like,
real
nigga,
quick, yeah.
It was quick, but nigga, I was ecstatic, met Dub C,
yeah.
Who's a fan. And, we was on side of the stage going crazy, like, little brother MOP watching
Ice Cube. Yeah, that shit was nuts. So yeah, that was just a nod to that, and just almost like a tribute, just to the energy of that track.
I think a great tribute you do on everything is when you both spit Special Edition, A Pause for Combat. Assuming you talk about Combat Jack.
Absolutely.
He, prior to passing, he was on the I had him on the show to talk about stuff he was doing with Spotify and the podcast. And most amazing guy I've ever talked to.
Most definitely.
What was for you guys? What's the biggest loss to the culture with his passing?
His voice, man. Like, he was able to, even if you didn't really listen to rap like that, like if you just, you just kind of, you jumped in, jumped out, whatever, but his voice, like, he was able to make everybody that he had as a guest, like, made him relatable to you, even if you may have only heard him like once or twice.
Yeah,
like,
he was able to bring it out of them. Even if you weren't a fan, he could just engage with them in a way that you were curious to hear. You may not listen to him on any other show, but you can listen to him on Combat. Show, right? I think he was like Johnny Carson in that way. Like, the old school guys would say, with Carson on this show, no act was bigger than Carson. You didn't watch Johnny Carson because of who was on the show. You watched it for Carson. And I think it was the same thing with Combat, man. Combat was just a dude that, to me, I just thought the biggest loss, on top of what Pooh said, just his voice. I think it was just his energy, man. He just had a very loving spirit. And, every time we saw each other, it was always love. It was always positivity. It was just a genuine thing that just, emanated from him, man. And people like that just in this industry are really rare. You know what I mean? It's just very rare that you meet people who are both talented and are, genuine people. You know what I'm saying? And, we spoke, we would text each other and shout each other out, you know what I'm saying, before, he passed, and we would just have conversations, and it wouldn't even be like on no rap shit or whatever. It would just be just about life. And, at the time, I mean, it's documented now, but, he was, going through a divorce, with his wife, and I'd been through a divorce some years earlier, and I just told him, hey, brother, if you ever need an ear, hit me up, because I've been there, and you're gonna need somebody, because there's gonna be sometimes you're gonna want to do some ignorant shit. And before you do that, please give me a call. You know what I mean? And so we would just have conversations, man. But yeah, just his loss was such a big thing. And we mentioned him, Combat Hagar. That was a shout out to our friend Darian Hager, who was another brother in Durham, North Carolina. He was he worked security. He did like some concert promotion and everything, but he was just really warm, great, just genuine guy. And he passed of colon cancer.
Oh, wow. And
so, that kind of, those lines, with that being the first song that me and Pooh recorded after 9 years, shouting those two men out that we lost and, two friends of ours that had passed, I think that kind of set a tone and a precedent for how serious the rest of the work was going to be. Mm-hmm. It's like, man, we done lost some of our partners, homie. Like, we got to come correct on this shit and do right.
With that, I mean, you on Right on Time, Phonte, you spit survivor's guilt because I was built a little different in the ride. Is that kind of referencing what you just talked about now, or is it?
Yeah, I think it is. It's referencing some of that. It's also just kind of referencing, like being in your family. Like my man, Gerard Carmichael, he has like this joke where he says, I have to tell my accountant, you need to create a whole nother column in Excel for being the first nigga in your family to make it.
Expenses that come with that.
Yo, that shit is so fucking real. You know what I mean? And it was hard for me. I had definitely had those moments where you have that survivor's guilt where you feel like, I say in the song, I was going through a storm and asked the Lord why. You go through hard times and it's like, why? And then when you get that big check or you get that big look or whatever, you ask the same thing. It's like, well, damn, why me? You know what I mean? And it is a little bit of, survivor's guilt, a little bit of self-sabotage there because you don't feel worthy of those things. You feel like, or at least I felt, to personalize it, I felt like, man, like, I'm the one who made it. You know what I'm saying? And it's like you missed the glass or some shit. You know what I'm saying? And that fucked with me, for a while. And it's dangerous. The danger in that is that when you feel that you don't deserve something, you internally and unconsciously do things to fuck it up. Right. So it was important, when me and Pooh was working on this record, I was like, we doing I work on, on the album, but I also got to keep doing work on myself to make sure that I'm in the right place and I'm fully present and I show up the right way in doing this record.
So when you guys are working together and you're hearing your verses go back and forth, are there those discussions that you're having about, like, if a lyric stands out to you that you're kind of like trying to ask him what he means by it, or vice versa?
When we're going back and forth, for this record in particular, every time we wrote something, we kind of like checked in with each other, like, yo, this is what I got, what you think, what this sound like to you? How can I make it better? What you hear coming, like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it was a true and honest collaboration in that. And that's something we never really done to that magnitude before. It was normally just, all right, man, what you got? All right, cool. All right, I'm gonna come in and do this, and just having that collaboration. And I think that was an extension of us working on our relationship, like, for real at the same time. And so that all that comes through in the record is like, we're working on our relationship while working on this record, and that's carrying over into the record, which means we're having conversations that we would have never had before. Yeah. as we're putting this
now that you never had before in real life or on the record. You know what I mean? Like Pooh having a line like, talking about, doing Uber pickups, trying to, that's something that he never, 10, 15 years ago when we first started, Pooh would never have been that honest. Like, he never would have been that raw
5 years
on the record. Right? Nah, straight up. But, those are the moments that resonate. And, I think a mark of great art is that it has to make you a little bit uncomfortable. If your art doesn't make you a little uncomfortable, you haven't done your job. You didn't leave it all on the table.
in Right on Time, you reference The War Report.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, Phonte Noriega's debut album.
Yes.
What was their impact on? What was that album impact on you as an artist? Then also, Big Pooh, do you have a go-to album that could be The War Report, but maybe something else?
It's definitely not The War Report. But shout out to Phonte Noriega. I do like that album. For me, my go-to album, it's actually 2 albums, Illmatic and America's Most Wanted.
That's a pretty good album.
Yeah. Pretty good. Pretty good. You know?
And those 2 albums are my go-to. And my third one is AT Aliens. For Nas and Ice Cube, those 2 albums in particular are the reason why I wanted to do what I do. Just hearing how they told stories, how they were so descriptive. It's almost like you weren't listening to a rap. You were listening to an audiobook. Right. And that appealed to me because I loved stories and I wrote stories. And so those are my albums along with AT Aliens that I go to. Like, it's almost like
a refresher course.
Yeah, you need a refresher course.
Masterclass.
Yeah, you go back and I go back and listen to those albums just to get me like, okay, all right, that was the pickup that I needed. That was the reset that I needed, and then I go back to work.
Yeah, for me, just The War Report, that was just the record that, that came out, like 97. So that was my freshman year at college. And again, we're moving into college dorm. I went to North Carolina Central University. I graduated in 2001. My degree was in English major, but my concentration was journalism. And so, man, we moving in, freshman year, and it's transplants, it's everybody. We all on the same hall. And there was a dude on my hall, and he was from Jersey, and I cannot remember his damn name. I can see his face clear as day. I can't remember his name for shit. But this motherfucker played The War Report on repeat, and he was just blasting and have his dorm door open, and he would play it, and I'm just like, nigga, like, do you have any other album you could play? He would just play that shit, and he would let that shit go. But I remember the record that really spoke to me. Like, he would play Blood Money, and first off, to me, Impeach the President is the greatest breakbeat ever. Like, that's just my number one breakbeat of all time. And, just the energy in that record. And, I remember, like, they would play it. We would have, like, college night at this club called the Power Company. And we would go there and, this is Bad Boy, it's still kind of running shit, Mace. And, this is kind of the beginning of, like, the No Limit era. Like, that shit is starting to happen. And so them records is going off. But at the end of the night, I remember one night I was there, the DJ, he was like, yo, man, fuck all that shit. Yo, this is for my thug niggas. And he played Blood Money. And, like, I think, like, a couple of girls stayed on the floor. But, like, people just scattered, and all these dudes just bum rush floor, like, oh. And I always loved that record, man. So it was, for me at that time, it was almost like counter programming. It was just, in an era of, like, kind of post, like Bad Boys, kind of, this is post Biggie's death. Death Row is, that's kind of was on the decline. And, you just had this Master P, like No Limit was really coming with just that super clean, super kind of glossy kind of sound. War Report was just the total opposite of that. And it just spoke to me in a real way.
Rapper Big Pooh, you recently told Complex that we wrote Black Magic, make it better to inspire. No matter your personal struggle, where you are starting in life, waking up gives you another shot at being better than the day before. Was Black Magic, make it better, about a personal story, a personal struggle, or was it more about struggle for those who don't have that voice?
It's always some personal in there, but it's definitely for other people as well. It's just, it's one of the things I always say when people be like, yo, man, how you doing? I'm like, shit, I'm doing good. I'm above ground. You know what I mean? Like, straight up. I got an opportunity to be better than I was the day before, to make things right, that I need to make right. And, just this song in particular, man, it's just like, as black men, the fact that we even made it to 40 and 39 is fucking amazing. We beat
odds. Which it shouldn't be amazing.
Yeah,
but it is.
But it's very amazing. The fact that we're both doing something positive and remained on the right side of the law is fucking amazing. The fact that, you know, waking up is like, nigga, the realest theme park. It's really to any amusement park ride or any fucking bungee
I don't need
jumping.
to seek thrills as a black man.
Nigga,
my life is
a thrill. It's just
right.
Just all the shit we got to go through on a daily basis, and to still wake up every day and be happy to be here. Like, nigga, that's magical. You know what I'm saying? That's some magical shit. And so, and that's, for me, that's what this song represent, man. It's just like, yo, like I said, it sounds simple, but it isn't. Yo, I wake up every day thanking God that I woke up and I have a chance to be better today than I was yesterday. Like, that's the realest shit ever. And I know it's a lot of people that feel that way. And if you don't feel that way, you hear this song and you start thinking like, damn, you're right. I did wake up today. Cause you take shit like that for granted. But, you know, we're at an age, I mean, I faced my own medical scare, and, you know, we're seeing people that we know and love, you know, passing away, and you're facing that mortality. When you 20, you think you fucking invincible. Right. Like, can't nothing happen, nigga. I'm gonna be here for a long time. Nigga, long time could be tomorrow, nigga. Like, your long time could end quickly. So, that's all. I was thinking about all those things when we wrote this record, man. And it's just to inspire people, man. Like, yo, shit, you got another chance, man. Like, take it. Like, do something with it. Do something real with it. And that's what it represented for me.
There's a couple of lines that I could totally be interpreting it wrong, which is why I have you here. So that's great. All right. And it's because I see these lines not as you calling out anyone. It's you kind of being like, really though? Like, like that. And it's, well, Phonte, it's the end where you spit, you really about that life, or are you just hashtagging? And then Pooh comes up and goes, you really self-made, or is your cash app?
Are you cash apping? Yeah.
So is that a calling out line, or is that more like, all right, stop the bullshit? You know, you're
absolutely stop the bullshit. Like, you know, you can't say, what people is, what is considered as activism or, wokeness or whatever now. A lot of it is just, it's just kind of for show. And so, I think the question that you have to ask, anyone that is trying to help someone or is trying to just make things better in their community or whatever, I think the main question you have to always ask is, what have you given of yourself? And, it's very easy to get online and to, just hashtag and, say whatever. I mean, that requires nothing to do that. That, right. That can be very easy way to show it. And I mean, again, if that's truly all you can do, then hey, it is what it is. But, in order, I think, to really make an impact in your life and in other people's lives, there's something that you have to be willing to sacrifice, and you can't be afraid to tell your story and to tell your truth. And, that was just that line. It's like, you really about that life. Like, everybody want to march till it's time to go to jail. You know what I mean? So if you're going to step out there and that's how you choose to fight that front, you fight the war on that front, the marching, the protest, or whatever. We stand behind you and do that. But you got to be willing to see that all the way through. And, it ain't just a hashtag. You really got to be about that life, and you really got to stand on what you say.
I want to ask you about sampling, and it goes more to the so you have the skit inside the producer's studio with Questlove. The character, the producer, Roy Lee, talks about the days of sampling. It's over. It's over. But the next track is Sitting Alone, which
is a very big fucking sample.
Which is like one of the most notable samples. Bobby Caldwell's "Open Your Eyes." Purposeful, the two together?
Not in that way.
Not that way.
Yeah.
Not that way. It happened like that, but not that way.
It wasn't intentional. It was, well, I won't say it wasn't intentional. It wasn't pre-planned. But that was, Roy Lee was just always a character that, Roy Lee was always a character that I just always envisioned as kind of being, the Sir Nose to, Ninth Star Child. You know what I mean? Just on the Parliament records, I'm gonna get you, I will never dance, Star Child. You know what I mean? Like, they were just rivals in this kind of fictional universe where, Ninth was the traditional boom bap producer and Roy Lee was just this dude making these fucking tinky tink beats on his fucking Korg Triton. You know what I mean? So it was just always just kind of like a friendly rivalry thing. And so, when we started kind of conceptualizing the album and them thinking about all these characters and like, okay, where did they end up? Where did they go? Roy Lee, I felt it was only right that he ended up on top because that's fucking life. You know what I mean? I felt it was only right that the guy that was making these little plastic, cheap sounding beats 15 years ago in the era of the Blueprint and kind of was, you know, the butt of the joke. Now in the era of trap, it's like, he's the fucking man. You know what I'm saying? So I thought that was just funny. So that was just always the kind of running joke of Roy Lee just kind of being the guy that hates sampling and hates sampling producers and just, you know, it's about to boom in the bap and the trap, baby. Like he's just that
time
guy.
has come.
Roy Lee's time in the sun is on May the Lord Watch. Roy Lee is living his best life right now, and he don't give a fuck about what you think about him.
For Sitting Alone, though, when you heard that sample, what was like lyrically your immediate reaction to?
Yeah, we heard that. I think Nas threw it up on Instagram.
He put it on Instagram. Yeah, like Tay hit me and was just like, he was like, nigga, like that's it.
Yeah.
And I heard it and I was like, yo, we need that.
Yeah.
And he
hit Knots.
He hit Knots, and about 3 minutes later, he was like, I got it.
Not sent the files. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I always like, with samples that were vocal samples. Again, I always looked at it as a conversation. So if the vocal sample, I'm listening to what the sample is saying, and I'm trying to think of how do we incorporate ourselves with that, and how do we have a conversation with what that sample is saying. And so in putting the song together, it was just, he chopped it up to where Bobby Carr was saying, you're still in a lonely place sitting alone.
Right.
That's not the original lyric at all. You know what I mean? But he chopped it to say that. And so I was like, okay, well, what are some instances where you're in a lonely place sitting alone? And that was when me and Pooh kind of started playing with the concept of having two people experiencing the same thing, but from different perspectives. In Pooh's first verse, he's the guy that's sitting at home alone on his couch,
experiencing FOMO.
Yeah, he don't want to miss out. And he's looking at, his phone and seeing all these Instagram pictures of the party and like, damn, I hate I'm gonna miss out. But then the other side of it is me being the guy that's actually at the party, taking the bullshit picture, right, making it look good, but really I'm like, get me the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? So just kind of showing two sides of that same argument, how, perception for one person, it can be a totally different thing to another.
I'm going to mess this up because I was listening to the album riding my bike.
Oh, wow.
It probably was a bad idea. But there's a moment where, and I do apologize, I don't remember the track, but there's a moment you talk about, like, don't hang out with people younger than 25 or 28.
25 or less.
25 or less, yeah.
As we've all gotten older, and hip hop is getting older as well. When did you make that decision that, all right, I can't be that guy rapping, I don't know, about like, women every night and drinking like that, because one, it's not believable when I'm 40. When you're 40.
Yeah, I'm 40 too, yeah. I'm 40 as well.
Wake up, you hurt yourself, you don't know why. It's just one of those, So when did you guys make that decision? Like, all right, I'm not going to rap about... I can't rap about that.
I think we've always rapped about, like,
honesty,
from the perspective of where we were and who we were at that time. So it was never a thing of like, oh man, okay, I'm 36 now, I got to start rapping about the club. It was just like, I stopped really going to the clubs at 28, 29. I'm not rapping about being in the club anymore. Like, even on Get Back, made a joint called after the party, and it was about, nigga, we didn't go to the club. We was at the let out. Like, that was the important part.
Parking lot pimping.
Yeah. And so it was just one of the things, like I said, we always believed in being honest and true about where we were in life, and just taking it from that perspective or from where we were. And it was a natural fit. I mean, that's, sitting alone is like where we are. It's just like, nigga, I look on Instagram like, damn, man, they look like they having a good time. But
oh well,
I know if I went, I would not be having a good time.
Yeah.
So I'm not going.
Yeah, I think one of like the key things that happened with me, like me and my buddy, we were joking. A friend of mine, he had got divorced recently, and he started dating again and everything. And so our running joke was, if a girl wants to go to a music festival, she's too young for you. Like that. That's the line. Like, if the girl you're dating, if she wants to go to Coachella or whatever, fucking Bumbershoot or like any of these festivals, if she wants to go to a random, just undisclosed location and just basically be in the Hunger Games,
be dirty for a weekend.
Yeah, she wants to have the fucking Hunger Games for 3 days with Kate Trinata playing music. And shout out to Kate Trinata, that's my brother, big ups to him. But hey brother, she too young for you, bro. Like, that ain't your lane no more. Your knees ain't gonna withstand Coachella. Like, just get it up, my nigga, it's over. So that was just a key thing that always came to mind, like when I was writing that track.
Years ago I saw Mos Def with a bunch of my friends, and the way it used to be Nokia Theater on 44th Street.
Yeah.
So there's like standing room only, and then
the seats.
Mm-hmm. Every young person ran, and my friends were like, walk slowly. Like, there's some seats. They're gonna sit right back down. I was like, this is great. Why would you even stress over
We appreciate y'all.
Thank you, youngins.
Picture this. I have a couple more questions. Thank you so much. Picture this as a reminder to all your fans, your journey. Mm-hmm. Why this reminder to us?
It was a reminder for us.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's.
Sometimes you don't look back. It's not until you look back until you realize how far you come. And I remember one time it was I read an interview with Lionel Richie, and he was talking about just success and the thing with your success, and it just shook me to my core. He was just like, imagine you driving down a highway at 100 miles an hour and you stick your head out the window. And so you stick your head out the window 120 miles an hour, you get back in the car, and he says, okay, tell me what you saw. And it's just like, damn, like I can't, you know what I mean? And he was saying, the thing with your success is that the question, whatever it is you're into, your success is going to bring more of that into your life. Mm. If you're into dope, we going to give you all the dope. If you're into girls, it's girls. If it's money, whatever. So the question then becomes regarding your success, can you survive it? Mm. You know what I mean? And that shit really stuck. I was like, damn, that's hard as shit. You know what I mean? And so particularly with Picture This, me and Pooh had never really taken the time to really honor each other's journey, you know what I'm saying, individually. And, what it took for us, just all those years of just making records and just kind of churning and burning the candle at both ends and in the middle. You know what I mean? Like, we was just, so it was important, for me to just us to really honor that and really look back and like, damn, man, like this shit on paper probably was not supposed to work. But it worked. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, for me, it spoke to me from the standpoint of, and I say it in the joint, God's engineering, Jesus at the wheels. Like, if it was up to me, I was supposed to go to Old Dominion University. I was never supposed to go to North Carolina for school. If it was up to me, I'd be teaching somewhere. Right. But God had other plans for me.
Luckily, it wasn't up to you.
It wasn't up to me. And so that's what this song, like, just even hearing the beat, and then when my man Black Soul, when he him and Tay, went through the hook and they laid it, that's just what it spoke to me. Like, this was your path. And luckily you didn't fight what your path was, and you just rolled with it. You just rode the wave, because you could have had an entirely different future if you didn't allow the things that was taking place in your life to happen. When they presented to you, you always picked the right door. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what this, Picture This for me. Like, it was just taking that moment to really think about it. Like, this is crazy. I never saw this coming. You know what I'm saying? Like, I never in the fucking million years saw this coming. So, and even when it started happening, I still didn't see it coming. Like, it still didn't, unlike, a Tay, I know he said this, like, it was this or bust. It was this or I'm going to be trying to do this. For me, it was, okay, I'm going to try this, but let me think about what happens if this doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what I had hopes, but never thought I'd sign a record deal. And it was like, so when it really started happening, it was like, yo, this shit is really happening. I'm so unprepared mentally.
We all were. I think we all were.
But I thought I was more unprepared because I never, like, this wasn't something that I always saw happening for me.
I didn't think this shit was a possibility, nigga.
Yeah, nigga. I was like, man, we gonna have some fun, and then I'm gonna go and finish my degree and shit. You know what I'm saying? So that's this song, like, just on that level for me. Like, and trying to convey that in a verse is tough when it's so layered and so deep. But this song just represented all of that for me.
My last question to both of you: is there a lyric on this album, or even in your career, that kind of, for individually defined, like, where you guys are at places as artists and as people?
Man, I'll probably say mine. I mean, it's a couple.
Mine was definitely the Uber line.
Yeah.
It was, and I told Tay this, I was like, yo, I told my wife, I was like, yo, I started to take that line out as soon as I wrote it. Like, I wrote it, and then I even read it back. I was like, oh, God, no, I got to take this shit out. And I never did. And then, I mean, Tay wouldn't let me anyway. He told me there was no way he was taking that out. But
oh, yeah, I would have put it back in. I'd been like, oh, yeah, man, I deleted that.
Yeah, and then that
Save
shit
it to this
folder. On the record. But for me, that was just that was the moment. That was my real moment when I was like, yo, I'm just letting all this shit go. And I was very uncomfortable when I knew people was gonna hear it. I was like, man, what they gonna think, man? But
that's the line that resonated with people the most.
Yeah, and it really wasn't until I started receiving text messages from people in the industry that hit me up and was like, yo,
nigga, I had to do that shit too.
That line hit home. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, yo, I'm glad somebody said it. That line hit home. And it was like, I was like, yo, I'm still uncomfortable, but I did the right thing. And then that also allowed me to let me know, like, yo, you've matured to the point where you're able to, and you're willing to share these truths that you may have stopped short of sharing previously. And so that's, I think for me, that, like, with this record, that's my big moment where I understand exactly where I am as an artist.
I think for me, I would probably have to go with From All in a Day. Just my definition of freedom is real tight. You ask me what I'm doing tomorrow, my only response is whatever the fuck I feel like. I mean, that's it. You know what I'm saying? It's very much like, I consider art and making a living as an artist. It's, I call it, like the Wile E. Coyote theory, where, I was watching TV, like one of my little cousins, like years ago, and she was like, oh man, Wile E. Coyote, he'd make it to the other side off the cliff if he just didn't look down. And I was like, wow, that was so fucking coming from an 8-year-old. Like, you know what I mean? I was like, damn, that's the truth, because Wile, he be making it, and then he realized that he ain't supposed to be doing that shit. He looked down, and Coyote, he be fucked up. It be over. And so, artists is one of those things, making a living as an artist. And I tell, young artists and just, people that make a living, it's a tough job because you're waking up every day and you're making a living off of your imagination. Every day is a day where you have to wake up and you say, you know what? There's a thing out there that I know I have to make, but I don't know what it is, and let's find out what it is, and then let's make it. And then after we make it, let's hope and pray to fucking God that someone else sees the value in it, right, so that I can, not so that I can just make more money and be rich and all that. I mean, you can get that if you're successful, but I just want people to buy this thing so that I can make my next thing. You know what I'm saying? And, and that was just one of those things where, with that line, doing whatever the fuck I feel like, it was just that realization of, yo, man, as terrifying as it is, we are people that wake up every morning and we create our own future every day. We have to imagine something new every day in order to stay in it. And if you think about that, if you think about how terrifying that is, if you look down, you're fucked. But if you just keep going and just keep pushing through it, you know, you'll find your way to the other side. And that's pretty much where I'm at right now.
New album, May the Lord Watch, Little Brother, Phonte, rapper Big Pooh. Thank you so much for being on the line.
Oh, man.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You haven't heard about the McCrispy yet? Well, then, you probably haven't heard the sweet silence after the first crispy bite either. Go try it for yourself to hear the best nut sound you've ever heard.